Hey everybody, welcome back. I am going to continue this journey with the table setting here, and I'm going to kind of focus in on some of these colors that were used down here in this bottom part of this specific work by Richard Diebenkorn. I'm going to use some of these darker greens that I see, sort of these quick brush marks. I'm going to make some of those things happen here myself, based off of obviously kind of looking at that as reference. So just to get us going, I'm gonna get a little bit bigger brush. I'm gonna make this brush a little bit bigger. I'm gonna just kind of make some quick marks there. I'm gonna get some darker green as well. I'm gonna make some other marks happen. I'm trying to emulate that style. So other areas where I see some of that darker green being sort of overlaid on top of some of that blue is like the shadow of that chair is very much a darker green value, which might have been mixed when this happened over here in that landscape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think to myself in this work, this shadow that's here on the wall, I'm going to use some of that darker green to overlay that blue and see if I can get some of that stuff to happen. So I'm just placing in some of that green right now here in that little bit of where that booth is. So I'm going to kind of place that in there as well. Move some of this green potentially too on the table because of the shadows and things. So move some of that green on top of that table. There is this cast shadow that's happening on the shirt that I'm going to use. This darker green over top. I'm going to kind of paint that in as well. Block that in. I'm going to go backwards so you can see that again. There you go. I'm going to kind of make some marks quickly to show some wrinkles and things. I'm going to generalize that information. I'm not going to be too worried about it, but I'm also trying to make it not look like suspenders or something that character might have been. That definitely didn't have it in the reference, but I'm just making some different marks based off of what I'm looking at here. So I'm using that darker green now and layering that and kind of going methodically, through this work. So I'm just kind of darkening up that edge of that table. We're going to get that figure to really start to show too. I'm just sort of going in with that darker green, and I might even too in this background now that I notice the separation between these rocks. I'm actually going to start to put some smaller areas of green and things in different structure back there with this background. So while I'm here, I'm going to sort of place in and get a little bit bigger brush. I'm going to hash in some of this kind of thing going on to some of these other sections. And maybe I just go over top of this whole thing and see how I like it. If I don't like it, I'll just paint over it. And I want to make sure, too, that all of you are continuing to experiment with your material and try not to be too critical on yourself. So, like, that maybe is a little too dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go back. I'm going to color pick from my image, and I'm just going to go over top of this again. So I'll just go over top of that. I'm just going back and forth, scribbling kind of up and down as well, and then I'm just going to kind of leave that there. Let's see, I need to readjust the booth too back here, so I'm going to take some of this darker blue and readjust sort of where that was going. I'm going to bring this lighter red around a little bit too. And I'm going to make some adjustments here too, just based off of kind of not just what I'm looking at. And what I want all of you to be aware of, right, is like I'm being very conscious and aware of the fact that like where that edge of those stones and that rocks would intersect, that head form if we went straight down in our placement. This booth ends right there on what would be our right side, and the way that this section here separates, it goes right there. But when I look at my my hybrid work right now, none of that is really happening in the same way. The booth is coming all the way around. So I could move the hair upwards if I want, to kind of section that off. But what will happen is now all of a sudden this person's head shape gets really large, which could be okay as well. That could be fine, just like that. I could extenuate or extend some of those marks that I'm making, because again, this is I'm kind of having some fun here. We're trying to figure out a way to go in between both of these artists' work. Here we have Tarantino's framing of the scene and Diebenkorn's painting, and we're trying to kind of think to ourselves, how would we go about, bridging the gap here. Need to get the shadow. That looks pretty good. I'm going to bring this rock wall kind of section here. I'm actually going to bring that down even more, but I'm going to make it so that you can still kind of see some of that booth come through. So that's another example of that overpainting. And I'm going to overpaint some hair, overpaint there, and now I'm going to continue to work on these cups and things, and we're going to get Samuel Jackson's hands in here as well in the next video.